What is going on, comic book movie fans? My name is Jonathan. This is Comic Book Cinema, and today we're going to discuss the top 5 DCEU movies. Not the top 10. Honestly, full disclosure, there's not enough really high quality DCEU films for me to do a top 5. I started looking at number 7 and number 8 and I was like, these movies are terrible. So we have a very limited amount of films that we can look at within the DCEU. Don't forget, the DCEU started in 2013 with the first release being Man of Steel. So movies like The Dark Knight, which is phenomenal, cannot be included in this list. Movies like the Christopher Reeve Superman films cannot be included in this list. Heck, even though it wouldn't make it in the list, movies like 2011 Green Lantern cannot make it in this list either. So with all that being said, let's delve straight into things. So at number 5 for me, I have Zack Snyder's Justice League. The original Justice League that unfortunately was affected in a very big way when Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. Obviously, Zack Snyder had to pull out from directing that film in the process, or basically in the middle of shooting that film. Warner Brothers brought Joss Whedon in to finish the project, which on paper at the time sounded like a phenomenal idea. You know, this is the guy that brought us the first ever gigantic team-up movie like this in the first Avengers film, which, by the way, is my all-time favorite comic book movie, like, ever. But the problem was Joss Whedon's style did not mesh well at all with Zack Snyder's style of directing, his style of storytelling, and it really just made the movie a jumbled up mess. However, when Zack Snyder was afforded the opportunity to come back and give us his vision after so many years, this film made things make perfect sense. A lot of the backstory and the motivations were explained so much more thoroughly with this version of Justice League, and it made things work so much better. Yes, it's 6 hours long and it takes a lot to sit through the entire thing, but when everything came together and we got to see the director's actual vision, this movie turned into so much more of a better film. That's why it sits firmly at number 5 on my list. At number 4, not to be confused with Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, that came out in 2021. Everything that the first Suicide Squad movie attempt did not do well, this one did so beautifully, so wonderfully, so hilariously. James Gunn is one of my favorite directors of all time. And what he did with this project is nothing short of amazing. The King Shark has so many funny and hilarious moments, and when you find out that it's Sylvester Stallone playing the voice of King Shark, it makes it that much better. John Cena shines so much in this movie. So much so that he even got his own TV series based off of this movie. Idris Elba is always wonderful. Every cast member in this film has an opportunity to shine. The Suicide Squad was one of the best superhero films of 2021. It really is amazing what they did with a franchise that looked like it was dead before Arrival with the first installment that we got in 2015, 2016. But when this one came out, it just breathed totally new life into the franchise of the Suicide Squad. And now we're getting a video game and everything else. And it honestly wouldn't surprise me if we got another sequel to this film as well. So great job, James Gunn. Great job, Warner Brothers. At number 3 for me is the Wonder Woman. I never have been a gigantic Wonder Woman fan. When I was a child, I remember the television series with Linda Carter. And, you know, it was alright. It was cool to see at the time because we didn't have much superhero content on TV or movies, especially compared to what we have now. So going into this movie, I honestly didn't have very high hopes for it. I thought, yeah, at best this movie could be a 7, maybe a 6.5. But I'll go see it. You know, I go see every superhero movie in theaters. But man, was I in for a pleasant surprise. Gal Gadot, which, that's another thing. A lot of people had their doubts about Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman. I myself included. But she really knocked it out of the park in this film. And you can also tell that Patty Jenkins is really good at directing Gal Gadot and bringing this movie that ultimately that it went into. Yeah, sure, you know, the villain at the end left a little to be desired, but overall, I mean, there was so many impactful moments in this film. So many inspirational moments, and the action was awesome too. At number 2, I have Aquaman. This movie was really surprising for me as well. We get a lot of crazy, wacky things like, you know, octopuses playing the drums and Atlanteans riding dolphins and crustaceans and all this kind of crazy wackiness, but somehow James Wan made it all work. Jason Momoa, of course, fits this role so perfectly, and he does his thing as usual. But the supporting cast is really fun too, and the origins of Aquaman, they made me intrigued by it all. You know, Black Manta, that's a character that I didn't know anything about before this movie came out, but, you know, I thought they did a good job with that character as well, and showing you why he has such disdain and hatred for Aquaman. Visually, it's a very beautiful film as well. There's a lot of cool stuff to see on screen. I almost view this movie more as a science fiction film than a superhero film. I mean, you know, we've seen that before, obviously, with superhero films, but I can't praise this film enough for its visual effects. And at number 1, this is controversial. Some people don't like this movie at all, and some people absolutely love this film. Even to this day, it's still sitting at about 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means that 50% of the critics liked it, 50% of the critics did not like it. My number 1 DCEU film is Man of Steel. As a kid, I grew up watching and loving the character of Superman with the Christopher Reeve films. I absolutely loved those films when I was young. I acknowledge that now they have not aged very well, but there's still a lot of redeemable qualities about those movies. As good as those movies were, Man of Steel is the absolute, hands down, best Superman film we have ever gotten to this day. They really flesh out Krypton so well in this film, and it really feels like a unique, strange world that is totally alien to us. The animals that we see, the backgrounds, I mean, Krypton looks really cool in this film. The technology, and don't get me started gushing about Michael Shannon as Zod. That's another thing too. I never thought that I would see someone who played Zod better than Terrence Stamp. But man, Michael Shannon in this movie will literally give you chills with his performance. The supporting cast is good as well. You know, we have Lawrence Fishburne there, and we also have Amy Adams. If I do have one minor complaint with the film, besides the 5-minute sequence of him getting chased by a liquid cyber snake, I would say that it's the casting decision made to cast Amy Adams as Lois Lane. She fits the bill decently enough, but she's not quite what I envision whenever I think of Lois Lane. But overall, I can't complain too much. She does a decent enough job. Man of Steel, still to this day, is in my top 5 superhero movies of all time. There's so many cool moments in this film. You know, it's also really cool to see a brand new to the role of being Superman, Clark Kent or Kal-El, having to literally have a trial by fire fighting 3, 4 Kryptonians all at once as his first test as Superman. Yes, there's a lot of collateral damage, but that's expected. This is literally his first time being Superman. And he's bombarded with 4 different Kryptonians that he has to fight all at once. I mean, it barely gets any better than this, you know, visually, action sequence-wise, cast of characters. It is a phenomenal film. Folks, thanks so much for joining me today. If you haven't looked us up on Facebook, check us out. You can also find us on Instagram at Real Comic Book Cinema. Make sure you hit the bell to get notifications every time we drop a video. We drop 2 videos every week. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Folks, thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, have a beautiful day.